volunteering. Thank you, Sarah, because I forgot to hit record again. So Melissa has been volunteering with Camp No Limits for quite a while, since Quinnipiac, our camp at Quinnipiac University in Connecticut. So, and both of her parents are, her mom is a physical therapist and dad is an occupational therapist. So they're here to share what they do and how cool that is and how beneficial it is for us to know about everything that they do to help people stay home and or to live in their home as functionally as possible. So Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you. So guys, thank you so much for joining. And for those of you who either maybe want to rewatch this, we will have this recorded. So please check that out. All right, go ahead. Take it away, Melissa.
Perfect. So sorry guys, my voice is kind of gone. But yeah, I've been volunteer with Camp No Limits for I think 6 years, going on 6 years now. It's like going to be my 6th summer. Started at Quinnipiac as an OT student, and now I'm a pediatric OT living in Boston. And I was raised by therapists. So this is my dad, he's an OT, and my mom, who's a PT. And they'll tell you more about what they do, but they decided to take this whole idea of evaluating homes and combine it with actually being able to execute the different ideas that they come up with to make a home accessible. So hope you enjoy. Feel free to ask questions, stuff like that.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so let's get started. Hi, everyone. It was so nice. It's so nice having you all join us. Let's see. So I'm Karen Frank. This is my husband, Greg Frank. And we have a company called Back Home Safely here in New Jersey. And what we do is we go in and assess homes for any safety or accessibility need. We always have a therapist who goes in to do the evaluation so that they could use their healthcare expertise to make recommendations for optimal home modifications to improve safety and accessibility. And then after the evaluation is done, we actually have carpenters and technicians on our staff that do the modifications. So throughout the 14 years we've been doing this, we really have been able to figure out some of the best modifications that work for people. We always, look at the person's diagnosis as well as the layout of the house, as well as the patient's or patient's parents' goals. So we look at all those and we try to make a home as safe and accessible as possible, and how to keep people living in their home who want to remain staying in their home after some type of medical compromise.
So, as therapists, we approach this differently than a regular handyman or DME specialist. We try to look at the person, the environment, the occupation all together, taking into consideration the physiological, the psychological, the cognitive, the spiritual, the neurological, all these needs that people have and what they desire in their life and what they can and can't do, and and make this the center of our modification. So where somebody might come in, let's say you hire a grab bar specialist, he's going to show up with a truck full of grab bars and just hang grab bars where he or she thinks the grab bars should go. But as therapists, we sort of are getting used to figuring out what the abilities and disabilities are, where the fall hazards are, and what the desires are. So if somebody wants to bathe in a bathtub, we're not going to gear it towards doing a shower. We're going to gear it towards being down for a bath. So it's more about the person than it is the environment. So that's what we're going to, moving forward, we're going to talk about what people are going to need in order to satisfy their life goals.
So why are the home modifications so important, which all of you probably realize? People have an increased desire to stay in the home that they love. When someone has had a stroke, amputation, a significant traumatic injury, it's not the time in their life where they really want to go and start looking for a ranch style home or a different home. They really want to just stay in the home that they love, that they live in. So that's a major reason. For older people, assisted living and skilled nursing, long-term care, the costs are enormous. There's a huge aging population. So that's why home modifications are so important now. I know a lot of people at Camp No Limits work with peds, but also there's a lot of the baby boomers are aging. So there's more and more of a need of this. There's also a lot of increased adaptive equipment available. We'll show you a bunch of different adaptive equipment. And as the years go on, a lot of the manufacturers are really starting to understand that home modifications are really needed, and they're coming up with really great products. There's increased assistive technology too that allows people to stay at home. And since COVID, a lot of people have chosen not to go to assisted livings or long-term cares where they might normally have gone, so that they could actually see their loved ones rather than having them not be able to come visit them, being exposed to the virus, being a prisoner in their room. So for all those reasons, home mods is really important.
And then Mom, also, you always talk about how even though peds, you might be able to pick them up and bring them up the stairs now, they're going to get older. So for example, I have a kid with Angelman syndrome right now, and she's only 8 years old, but she's already getting so heavy, and her mom carries her up the stairs every day, like 5 times a day, depending on where in the house they're going. So thinking about it earlier before the mom ends up having a shoulder or back problem.
Yeah, we see that a lot. We see so often where children with who have special needs, their parents, they wait till those parents need surgeries themselves from carrying them. So Melissa, you're totally right. It's important that they get on board with the home mods earlier than later.
I learned from the best.
Yeah. So, depending on where you live in the country, houses are laid out differently. But most places have houses that look sort of like this, and so when you approach as a therapist or as a parent, when you want to approach a home to figure out what needs to be done for a child with an amputation to live there, you've got to look at certain goals. You've got to look at egress. How are we going to get in the house? How are we going to get how are we going to get out of the house? How are we going to take a shower? How are we going to take a bath? How are we going to use a toilet? Once you get in the house, are the doors wide enough to be able to get through even? So houses, you have to get into the house, you got to get through the doors. And once you get in the house, you got to get up and down the stairs. And those showers and bathtubs are usually up another set of stairs. So we've got to accomplish. So when we take a look at a house and making it accessible for someone with an amputation or some other type of disorder, we've got to look at these types of goals. And another thing we look at is, besides the essential parts of life, like getting in and out, getting in and out of the bathroom, out and off the toilet, how about just a place to hang out, a place to enjoy yourself? Out in the world, it's difficult to have a disability, but once someone gets home, let's find a safe, comfortable spot that we can enjoy living in and we're completely accessible to. And it's really important to find that spot in the home and make it accessible. So, a lot of times people are going to say, okay, this child has an amputation, they need to be in a wheelchair and they need to be pushed up and down the stairs. Then you go find a therapist. The therapist says, wait a second, hold on. We're not going to make this person dependent for the rest of their lives. If we can, we're going to see if we can work towards independence or just less dependence. Maybe they don't need to go up and down in a wheelchair. Maybe they just need a rail. Maybe they need a ramp, or maybe they need a lift. But we need to evaluate what they need as an individual so we're not dependent all the time if they don't have to be. So those are iron rails. These are aluminum rails. For an amputation, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll do bilateral rails if someone has the ability to hop. We can do bilateral rails. And the most important thing to do with that is not hire a rail person to do that without going into therapy and saying, okay, what's the best distance between the rails? What's the best height between the rails? Maybe it's a child who's going to be growing. Can we adjust these rails in the future to make them higher and lower based on their needs so that they can have the exact same? They can do stairs in the therapy clinic, or they can do parallel bars. Let's make those stairs or parallel bars at home and accommodate their needs so that they can help themselves get in and out. So this was a house that I went to late at night, and they actually had Parkinson's. And this gentleman moved in with his daughter. His daughter was freaking out that she couldn't even go to work anymore because she was worried that her father was going to fall down the stairs, fall in the bathroom, whatever. So I showed them what to do. I showed them all the different rails they needed. Turned out they couldn't decide what color they needed. So I got a call 2 weeks later and said, Greg, we're in the emergency room. Dad just fell down the stairs. Sorry, I didn't decide earlier. I don't care if they're purple. Put those rails in the house. So we came the next day, put in a couple rails. We put in that rail on the front porch. We put rails up and down the driveway. We put rails inside the house. We put grab bars in the shower. 7 years later, we're doing a presentation just like this. I put these pictures up there and we hear the scream from the background. That's my house. So she stood up and she went on and on and on about how now she's able to work at her desk, not worry about what her father's doing at home. He can be independent in the house, and he just needed something to hold on to. Just like people with amputations, if they can have something to hold on to or different ways to modify the home so that their parent or caregiver doesn't have to be there all the time, that's really the way to go. So this person wasn't able to use a single rail, and the son said, listen, I want you to get my mom a ramp so she can get up and down these stairs. I'm having trouble talking, Tara.
So just so you all know that this isn't 3 rails, that's a shadow in the middle of.
I'm a crappy photographer is what she's trying to say. So you'll see throughout that she'll make fun of different photos that I've taken. This is not a 3rd rail there. Anyway, so this guy said he needed a ramp for his mom. I said, look, he's walking in therapy. She's walking in therapy. Yes, she can't handle a walker. Let's make her those parallel bars, just like I said. A couple of years later, we ended up having to correct those steps. They were 8-inch steps. We built boxes and made them 4-inch steps.
So right, it's hard to see, but right, 2 steps are two wooden boxes so that it's easier to go up and down the steps. So now we're going to talk a bit about ramps. Melissa, I just gave it away. Melissa, how many feet of ramp for every inch of rise?
1 foot of ramp for each inch of rise.
She's so smart. So with ramps, the biggest thing we see with ramps is people don't realize how much ramp footage you really need for a house. People will call us up and they'll say, I need a ramp for my house. I want like a little 4-foot ramp. And we'd say, okay, well, how many steps do you have? And they'll say, I have 6 steps. And they won't realize that if you put a 4-foot ramp on 6 steps, it really is a very steep slope and you wouldn't even be able to walk on it if you didn't have any physical limitations. So you should try to get as close to 1 foot of ramp for every inch of rise. So for instance, this ramp is for 3 steps. So you can see it's a lot of footage of ramp. So every step is usually 7.5 or 8 inches. So if you assume it's 8 inches, that's 24 feet of ramp that you need for those 3 steps. We tend to use these modular ramp systems. We like them because, at least here in New Jersey, they're considered temporary structures. And that's because there's no footings. So they can be put out and they could be laid out there. It's not portable that you would move it every day, obviously, but it's temporary, meaning that you can one day have it removed. And they can go up very quickly. I know companies like us throughout the country, I'm sure they keep usually a lot of these footage of ramps. So when someone needs them quickly, because discharges from hospitals are so quick, the home modification company or ramp company can come out pretty quickly and get that installed for you. You obviously need a platform if you're going to do a 90 or an 80 degree or 180 degree turn. You also, it's best to use these kind of ramps that have handrails on them for safety, also for people who are walking up and down the ramps who need that support. And also there's a curb on the side of the ramp so that the wheelchair, if you're in a wheelchair, it won't go off the side. The other thing you have to take into account is how much landscape you have. You need to have enough landscape for that much footage of ramp. And also if the landscape declines in front of the house, you have to take that into account too. So, you know, people here sometimes they don't have enough footage of landscape in order for an appropriate ramp. So we sometimes look at what the situation is. If it's a mom pushing a child up the ramp in a wheelchair dependently, you could sometimes cheat it a little bit, or even if someone's being dependently pushed, an older adult being pushed, whoever, up in a wheelchair, then you could cheat it a little bit. Whereas if someone's actually ambulating up the ramp or self-propelling themselves, then you want to make sure that you kind of stay to a foot of ramp for every inch of rise. The other thing is if you have at least 30 feet of ramp, it's really important that you have a break with a platform so that they have the person self-propelling themselves has time to rest. If anybody has any questions during this, if you could put it in the chat, and Melissa, if you don't mind keeping an eye on it. Anything else about ramps, Greg?
No, you did a great job. I didn't die, by the way. I was almost
I'm
dead,
glad you
but
didn't
I
die.
recovered. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, this person didn't want a ramp. She didn't really have an adequate sidewalk in the front of her house. So we actually went and poured concrete to make a front walk, but instead of a front walk, it became sort of a ramp. And if you look at the front door, a lot of times, like if you walk out of your front doors tonight, you'll have a 4, a 6, or an 8-inch drop from the front door down onto your front porch. But when we create it, we'll create it right to the front door. What's that called, Melissa? Universal design. You got it. So
No threshold.
anyway, so there's a philosophy called universal design that if you just build the world accessible for everyone, no matter if they're able-bodied or disabled, and no matter what the ability or disability is, that nobody's going to really have to adapt anything. So if we go with that approach to a home design, we just put that front porch right up to the door. No matter what their condition in life is, they're going to be able to get in that door. So we use bluestone, we use concrete, we use pavers, we use blacktop, whatever someone really wants. The best thing really is concrete. It also depends on where you are in the country, but concrete can be controlled in a way that we can make it without different cracks in it. And the cracks can be repaired. They're easy for walkers and wheelchairs and that sort of thing. Pavers, they tend to not be in concrete. They tend to be in stone dust, so they get a little wonky over time. So bluestone is really beautiful, and as long as you can make those grout lines very small. So it doesn't really matter what material, as long as you're making it not a trip hazard and a little bit gentle. Let's say they're in a wheelchair or something, you make it a little bit gentle. This is called a suitcase ramp. We usually get a call from someone that says, I need a suitcase, I need one of these suitcase ramps. I only have 5 steps and I need to get somebody in and out of the house. And we have to take a step back. We'll explain to them, well, a suitcase ramp might not work, and this is why. And very often what it takes is throwing a suitcase ramp in the truck, driving down to their house, throwing it on the steps and saying, okay, try to walk on it now. And then they sort of realize why it's not going to work for them, even though they really do have their place. Again, for those parents who need to throw it in the minivan to be able to bring it so that we can go to the families for Thanksgiving or different restaurants or whatever that are inaccessible, they really are helpful for something like that. I forget anything, Kara?
No, I think you got it.
Rubber threshold ramp. So as far as well, Courtney's saying that she always has trouble with threshold ramps at a door. Another way of doing it here is the rubber threshold ramp. There's other ones that are actually have they're a sheet of aluminum with 2 screws on the end, and you can screw the screw in and out to make it fit exactly at the threshold. Different door manufacturers have ADA sills. So if you're putting a new door in, you can make an ADA sill, which will make it flush at the door. Something that's really difficult are those sliding doors that have a gap there and a little track that they need to slide on. So the different manufacturers are coming out with different ways of doing it. So we'll talk about it more throughout this.
And if this looks familiar, we used this at Quinnipiac camp one year to get the sleds for sled hockey on and on.
On the ice, right? I remember that.
Turns out they make them kind of similar with the ice, so those work better. But anyways.
Did you mention they were made out of recycled tire rubber?
I don't know. It's great. Um,
And because of it, it's really heavy, so it really just sits there.
So everyone who goes to therapy goes and uses these steps, and they tell their therapist, "Oh, I only have 3 steps." Let's say this person has those steps in the garage. They tell their therapist, "Oh, I've got rails and I've got 3 steps." So the therapist goes and works with them on the steps, and they are able to go up and down. The therapist is cheering them along the way. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You got it. And they're up and down the steps, and there's a landing on the top that's flat, bilateral rails. It's all good, ready for discharge. Person comes home and crap. They get to the house and it's not 3 steps, it's really 4 steps. And those, maybe the first 3 steps are an 8-inch height, but the 4th step, that one might be 9 or 10 inches. It's not bilateral rails, it's only a rail on one side. And the hard part is now we've got to go up an odd size step and through a door, and you lose the rail behind you. So there's nothing to hold on to. So you're holding on to the door jamb, you're holding on to the doorknob, you're swearing, you're cursing, you're yelling at the person who's with you. It's really a bad scene. And that's when they call us in and they say, "Greg, we got to fix this, and we got to fix it right away." So how do we fix this, Lissy? I can't talk, so Lissy, you got to do it.
The iron triangle, is that what this is?
No, well, Karen, you got to advance it. Keep trying.
So what we
Oh,
tend
that
to
sorry,
do,
the platform.
yes, so we make a platform that's very similar to the platform that someone does in rehab. So it's really hard to tell in this picture, but what we do is we do a set of stairs that are shorter each step is a shorter height. And then at the end, we make it so that you end on a platform. Greg, can you put a circle around where the last step is? So that the last step, so you're not going up and through the doorway at the same time, you're going up to a platform. And then once you're up to the platform, then you're walking straight through the door. So again, you're not going up and through the door at the same time. And it just makes it a lot easier to do it that way.
Sort of break it down into 2 separate activities. One activity is getting up the stairs. Second activity is going through the door. And no matter which activity you're on, you've got bilateral rails to help you out.
And this way you're again, like you're not holding on to the moldings of the doorway to get through the door. You just could walk straight through the door. So here's another picture of one. We actually made this for my father-in-law who had fractured his hip 1 year, and it just makes it so much easier to go up the step and then through the door.
But very often people don't want to take up all that space in their garage. Sort of like our garage, where we have $200 worth of crap protected in our garage, and we've got our cars parked outside.
You really like that word today, don't you?
What's that?
I said you really like that word today, don't you?
What crap?
Yeah.
There's other. Okay, I'll try to clean up my act here.
There's some
Yeah.
kids on here. You-
What?
There's some kids on here.
Okay, I'll clean it up. Anyway, so what ends up happening is they end up not wanting that big platform in there. They want to be able to put their cars in. So this is one way to the important thing again is getting to the top of the steps and then going straight in. So that this makes it pretty much the same approach as the platform. There's the iron triangle that Melissa was talking about. You know, if someone had to go down this one step, what would happen is they would put a grab bar on that wall, and then the grab bar would end up behind them as they came down the step. So we make these iron triangles just out of iron handrail. They can get their hand around it really well, and they can slide their hand down and up as they go up and down those stairs. The other one on the left is called a PT rail. I don't know why they call it a PT rail. I don't think it's a physical therapy rail. But that rail can be attached to the wall. It covers those 2 steps, and it can be flipped out of the way when you're not using it.
So in some situations, a stair lift is a really great option to be able to get up and down the stairs. I know in certain parts of the country, there's a lot of ranch homes, and that's great. There's not as many stairs to deal with, but at least here in the Northeast, there's tons of stairs, and most of the main bedrooms and bathrooms are on the upper level. So we really discourage people who when their mindset is, okay, I have a disability now, I need to cut my house in half and I need to stay on the lower level. if we can, we really try to be able to get someone up. So as long as that person can do a safe discharge, I'm sorry, a safe transfer, even from a wheelchair to a chair, we can get them up on a stair lift. So this stair lift is for a straight set of stairs, meaning the track is straight. Because it's straight, most companies who sell stair lifts can usually rent these or purchase them with a straight set of stairs. The most of these stair lifts, they plug into a regular electrical outlet, but the electrical current doesn't it doesn't run off that electrical current. The electrical current actually trickle charges a battery. So when you're using the stair lift, you're going up and down the stairs. It's using the battery. And why this is great is if the power goes out, you still have use of the stair lift. The seat, the armrest, and the foot plate all flip up out of the way when you're not using the stair lift. And then when you do use the stair lift and you go to the top of the stairs, the seat swivels so that when you're doing your sit to stand transfer, your back is facing the stairs. So we really think stair lifts are a fantastic way to get people up and down the stairs. So for people who cannot negotiate the stairs, if someone has a pulmonary condition or a cardiac condition, and maybe they have good days and bad days, it's a great idea to use the stair lift when they have those bad days, but the stairs are still there. So as therapists, we always try to encourage people to do as much as they can in most situations. So they still can go up and down the stairs on those good days, but at least they would have it there on their bad days. We also tend to focus a lot on caregivers. So if someone is straining to safely go up and down the stairs with their loved one, we really get nervous about the caregiver getting injured as well as the person with the disability. So in those circumstances, it's a great safe way to get someone up and down the stairs. So there's a lot of different stair lift manufacturers out there. They're all basically the same in terms of getting you up and down the stairs. I know we in our showroom, we have like 5 different stair lift manufacturers that we utilize. And it was interesting because most of the time people, before we had a showroom, people would get stair lifts without an issue. But when they come in and actually try the stair lifts, just because the way there's different toggles on different sides, or some of them have on bilateral sides to control the stair lift. Sometimes the swivel button to push is a paddle and sometimes it's a bar. So it's really interesting. So if you know someone that might need a stair lift, if they can get to a showroom and actually try out a stair lift, it's really helpful. It doesn't mean you can't get one without trying it out, but it is really helpful if you can. So some of the manufacturers make ones that are for outdoor purposes. They do the same thing. It's just that the whole unit is made to deal with the weather. Greg, do you want to talk about this one?
Love to, yeah. So basically this is one, as therapists, there's certain diagnoses, there's certain clients that we see them, and we see the same routinely day in and day out. We see the same types of solutions that we will have for various clients. And we know exactly when we hit that house, what we're going to be doing. And it's just not cookie cutter, but sometimes it becomes cookie cutter. And then we get these great cases where there's something completely off the wall that's really exciting that we've got to dig deep and get very creative with. So this person, actually, he's a child with muscular dystrophy, and all he wants to do, Karen, forward this slide, please. He wants to get to that lake. So what happened was, you can go back to the other slide. So his mom went to the marina, bought a pontoon boat that could be even with the dock, and she said, now I've got to get him down to that dock. And if you look at the terraced lawns here, all these areas here where a ramp really wasn't going to work out. As you see, this ramp that we built is very, very steep. So it's not realistic for someone to push a wheelchair up and down this ramp. But we built this ramp so that we could put a stair lift. Can you forward it one more, please? Okay. There. So we ended up putting a stair lift there because he could transfer to a stair lift. We built that ramp just to hold the stair lift. and make sure that if God forbid anything happened to the stair lift on the way, he could get on and off of it. But it made it really possible that we were able to get him up and down from the lake back up to the house. He was able to get onto his pontoon boat, and he was really able to achieve his goals. Now, very often as therapists, you never really put down as a goal to be able to independently be able to get on and off a boat on the lake down that's 50-foot drop down from the house. But these cases really definitely make people's lives different. And he was able to join his brothers and sisters down on that lake all summer long, for years.
Greg, could you get off the highlight off?
Get the highlight off.
Red, there's red.
Oh, erase the highlight.
Yeah.
Done.
So sometimes people don't have, they have stairs that you go up a set of stairs and you go turn on a platform and then go up some more stairs. Melissa, what kind of stair lift is this called?
Custom curve.
Yes.
I got my voice.
This is a custom curve stair lift. So it's the optimal stair lift because what it does is it's made specifically for a house. You could get on it at the bottom of the stairs. It goes up the first set of stairs, wraps around the platform like this, and goes all the ways up to the top. So it's really awesome because you only have to get onto the stair lift once, and it takes you all the ways to the top of the stairs. The bad part is, unfortunately, they're pretty expensive pieces of equipment. If it's someone that is making a choice, either they have to go up their stairs or they have to move, the moving expenses alone are going to be more than what the stair lift costs. So it would make sense to have a custom curve stair lift, but it is quite pricey. And the other thing is that that they can't be rented because they're made specifically for a house. So that's a custom curve stair lift. Now, sometimes what you could do is if you're able to get two straight stair lifts, and it's a little annoying. You have to go up the first stair lift, you get off of it, and you have to be able to ambulate across the platform. Or sometimes people who have to do a lateral transfer, we can, depending on the platform, you could even put a chair there or a tub bench and have someone do a lateral transfer onto the tub bench and then slide over to the other stair lift. You could do it that way. You save a lot of money, and people really don't go up and down the stairs that often during the days. The other option is if you have one set of stairs that is a lot shorter than the other set of stairs, you can, and someone can go up that short set of stairs. It's always fine just to put a stair lift on that one long set of stairs and have them negotiate the short set of stairs.
So, again, another creative approach that we took to this. This person, actually, he had a stroke and he was not able to ambulate across the landing. They were about to move in about 6 months, so they really didn't want to put the investment into a curved stair lift, but he was able to laterally transfer. So, and his wife was going to work during the day, but he could independently laterally transfer, even though he couldn't get across the landing ambulating. So what we did, we built this bench. So we built this bench out of wood. This piece here, is on wheels. There's 4 wheels, and this black rod is keeps it straight. What he does is he goes up the steps, he swings this armrest out of the way, laterally transfers, wheels himself across, and then flips this up out of the air and laterally transfers onto this bench. And he was able to, for the 6 months he had left living in the house, rent those stair lifts, be able to independently get up and down the stairs without his wife having to be home to help him. And this allowed him to live, to exist in his home for that amount of time. And it saved him about $10,000. So it really achieved a lot for this family. And it was a lot of fun to come up with the solution. I'm all about having fun. I'm getting rid of all the marks, okay?
Thanks, because it looks like I have the measles over my.
We should check that out.
I know. There's dots. I don't know what the red dots are from.
Okay, I think we're done.
I still have the measles, but that's okay.
You? They're not gone?
No, it's
Let's
okay. Let me move it forward.
Okay.
Greg, you gotta stop.
I'm not doing
Are you?
I'm not doing anything.
Dad, close out of the annotation thing.
Oh, okay. You got it, Karen?
No. We're at a standstill.
Well, thank you for joining us for this.
Lissy, do you have, if I press escape, will it take me out of this whole thing?
You could try and then just
Go back
reopen
in.
it. He shouldn't really have any control over the PowerPoint.
But he did, he was,
And
he was,
he's
okay.
able to write on the screen, but he's not able to. He's not able to control the PowerPoint. That's just you.
Right. I'm viewing Karen's screen.
Okay, I don't know why my cursor,
Okay, hit escape.
I did.
Okay, stop sharing the screen.
So is that if someone has a wheelchair or a walker or some device that they need to bring up with them up the stairs, they won't be able to with a stair lift. So very often or if the transfer is very difficult, maybe transferring at the edge of the stairs really isn't cool. So what we have is this is inclined platform lift that the wheelchair actually wheels onto the platform and the whole platform goes up the stairs, just like a stair lift would.
One of you annotated the green line.
Yeah,
I know, it's probably me, but I'm scared of pressing it again. I think we'll just deal with the green line.
I'm trying to erase it and it's not erasing. So we'll deal with the green line.
Okay, Melissa, what's this called?
A vertical platform lift.
Great.
Or
So a lot of time people, again, the same thing. They don't want to do all those transfers that are very difficult on the caregiver and the person who needs the help. So they'll just put this, or maybe they don't want to fill up their whole yard with a giant ramp. So this vertical platform lift solves that problem for them. It's like a mini elevator on their property.
So this is a veteran in New Jersey. Each state, the VA is very different, has different benefits, but in New Jersey, at least, the VA is really awesome to their veterans, and they get for free vertical platform lifts, ramps, and stair lifts if they need it for accessibility. So this is a gentleman who had a VPL or vertical platform lift put in his garage, and it's really great if you can get access through the garage, and especially in the Northeast or any place in the North where it gets cold and there's ice and rain, and it's just a lot easier if someone has a dry space to take their time and get in and out of the house that way versus outside, if there's any way to, if it's feasible.
So basically, this is what a house looks like when you take away all the tile and the sheetrock, and you take all that away. And this is the bones of the house. This is what holds the house up. So if you want to hang a grab bar, you can very easily go to Home Depot or go to Lowe's, order on Amazon. You can order a grab bar. But if you don't know what the house looks like behind the sheetrock, I would get someone involved who does know what it looks like, because it's very important to be able to anchor these into something that's good and strong, or use an anchor that's strong enough to hold it. So does anyone know, let me see the annotation here. Anyone know what these pieces of wood are called? In the chat? So a stud. Thank you. Yes, I am a stud. Oh, the wood. Yes, it is. That is a stud, and it's made out of something that we call a 2x4. And years ago, those 2x4s were actually made out of a piece of wood that was 2x4. Now they're slightly smaller than a 2x4. So when you are using, let me get rid of. So when you are choosing a grab bar that has this piece that have the screw holes in it, you want to be able to find the less than 2-inch space that a stud is, and how far away from the middle of one stud to the middle of another stud. Anyone know that answer? And the answer is, come on, dig deep. 16 inches. Someone knows. The Keegan family knows all about this stuff. So from the middle
of this, she's even in a video later.
Oh, really? Awesome. So anyway, so the middle of one stud to the middle of the other stud is 16 inches. So you go to Home Depot and you buy a 24-inch grab bar. that means you're not going to hit a stud on both sides of the grab bar. So you either have to pick grab bars that are going to meet this, that are going to match the size of your stud distance, or you're going to have to open up your wall and put something in there to be able to hold the weight of the grab bar. Or there's another way of doing it, is to find some hardware that, like a toggler bolt or something like that, that will be able to secure into sheetrock without a stud, but still hold the person up in the air. Now, I pick grab bars with multiple holes in them, so it's easier to find, to be able to actually hit a stud. I like to have ones that have an escutcheon plate on them that covers it. Not that, for one reason, it covers the screws so it looks a lot nicer, but also we can cover it from the water. We put a lot of silicone on them, but it actually covers it and makes it a lot more waterproof. I like grab bars that are narrow so that your hands can actually get around them. So the ones in hotels and hospitals, those are about 1.75 inches thick. But if you're doing it for your home and you have especially people with small hands, you can pick ones that are 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches thick, a lot easier to hold. This one's got a rough texture. It's called a knurling or a peening on it that makes it a lot less slippery when it's wet. How'd I do, Karen? Anything else?
Perfect. No, just, did you mention the places people could get grab bars?
I did.
Okay, I missed that, sorry.
So here's different types of hardware. Like I said, the toggler bolts. There's a company called Wingets. And if someone handy with a drill and handy with the ability to do some carpentry, it's not that difficult to get a nicely secured grab bar. Melissa, what do we think about suction cup grab bars?
They're very dangerous.
So they fall off. A lot of times people get woken up in the middle of the night by the suction cup grab bar falling and banging against the floor. So we try to really, I know some people resist having holes drilled in their walls, but it's worth it to get a nice secure one. Steph Shaw says they're the worst.
So what we usually recommend is, in this picture on the bottom left, is that when you go into a shower or a tub, we usually put a short vertical grab bar on as you enter and a longer horizontal one against the farther wall. Of course, we have to look at what the person's functional limitations are, because if you have, whether it's limb loss on the left side in that scenario, you know, the person's not going to have be able to use that horizontal grab bar that's 32 inches there. So what we might do is straddle the plumbing on the front wall or underneath the shower head and put a grab bar there so you'd be able to use it. The same situation if someone has a stroke and they have left-sided weakness, the same thing, you're not going to be able to use a grab bar on the left there. So that's where it's really important that someone who understands the functional abilities of the person has communication with the person who's actually doing the installation of the grab bars, because a typical handyman is just going to go in and put grab bars wherever they want. They're not going to understand the real benefit of having grab bars in a certain situation. Also, a lot of tubs like this have sliding glass doors, and those sliding glass doors, if someone tends to use the towel rod on the glass door or the handle on the glass door as a grab bar, it could be really dangerous. So a lot of times we'll go in and we'll actually take off the glass doors. We'll put up a shower curtain rod and ring. What that also does is if someone needs assistance to get in and out of the bathtub or the shower, it gives more room for two people to get through that space. And also you don't have the tendency to go grab onto a glass door. A lot of times we'll also put in a tub bench. As most of you probably know, a tub bench, the 2 feet go into the bathtub and 2 feet go out onto the bathroom floor. So you could actually sit down on the tub bench outside the tub and then slide yourself over. It's much safer that way. Or possibly even just putting a shower seat in the bathtub. So all those different ways to be able to negotiate safely in and out of the tub. And then sometimes there's no wall for a grab bar to be where you need them. So in the picture on the right, this is a really cool grab bar. It actually pushes up, you pull up on it and it rotates and slides so it's flush against the wall. But when this person needed the grab bar, she just lift it up and then it locks into place where she needs it. And then she can safely push down on it and use that as a grab bar to help her stand up.
We
So
have a
Corey-
question. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead,
Go
Dave.
ahead, Liz, you can answer it.
So I don't know if this is the correct answer. What we learned during my experience in inpatient rehab was we actually told patients to buy a cheaper shower curtain and just cut out like rectangle kind of to go over it. So that way it kind of goes around the tub bench. But I don't know if there's a better solution that you know.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, so depending on the tub bench, sometimes you need to cut out around it. Sometimes the tub benches are in sections, so you can actually cut a slit up on each side, and you make like a tongue, and the tongue can fit down or a flap, and that can fit down in that crease, and it can work that way. Or you can buy tub bench shower curtains on Amazon or other websites. They're kind of expensive, but like Melissa said, you can make them just as easily. Best Bath makes a shower curtain that's really thick. It's practically waxy burlap, so it's really heavy, and so it doesn't blow. But very often what happens if you take shower doors off, the wispy shower curtain can blow out of the shower and end up getting water all over the place. So so the Best Bath shower curtain is very heavy. It's like, what is it, Karen? Like $80. It's very expensive, but it's so heavy that it makes a lot less of a mess. So that can help a lot.
Greg, there's a brand that we buy that I want to say it starts with a W. Do you remember what the name of the?
You do all the buying.
If I figure it out before the end of this, I'll tell you
Right.
what it is. I'm sure if you Google it, it'll come up, but there are tub bench shower curtains out there.
Right, that's what I was saying, right, yeah.
Okay, I think you talked about all those things.
So doors, there are different ways, very often doors are too narrow, maybe for a wheelchair or a walker, or even using crutches. Getting through doorways can be narrow. So the cheapest way to handle a door, well, is pop the hinge pins off and take the door off if you don't need the door. Or you can go to Lowe's and you can buy these offset hinges. That might buy you about 1.5 inches of door width, because it swings the door outside of the door jamb, so it's not in your way. Barn doors are a really cool DIY way of doing things. You can get the hardware right at your hardware store, or Lowe's or Home Depot. And we tend to use a bigger door than what you already have there, because it takes away from the privacy and it doesn't really latch together. But that works. Or you can get a type of wheelchair that the one's a transport wheelchair, but for people who are self-propelling, this polyfly allows you to take the large wheels off to be able to make it through. Very often people with walkers, they'll have a rolling walker, and those wheels are on the outside of the rolling walker. We'll take the wheels and we'll switch the right one and the left one. It makes it a little less stable, so you'd really want to ask the physical therapist if it still has enough stability, but it takes a good 2 inches away from the width that walker is going through that door. It might be worth it if they're still stable enough. Did I describe that well, Karen? It's good in my head, but I don't know if I described it well.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
I figured out the tub bench shower curtain, so I put in the chat.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Anyone else have any suggestions about doors besides going in there and actually cutting the door open and putting a bigger door in there? Going once, going twice? All right, moving on. Toilets, this is my thing. Karen says PT stay as far away from toilets. OTs, we use toilets every day. So basically, we want to make toilets the right height for people. We don't necessarily want it higher. We don't necessarily want it lower. We want it the exact height somebody needs. So that's very difficult at times. Very often what people do is throw a commode over a toilet. And that works for a temporary situation. But let's face it, a commode isn't perfect. It's kind of ugly. And it's not good for everyone else in the house that's using it. Plus, if you've got a nice elongated toilet and you put a commode over it, now you've got a smaller hole for doing what you got to do in it and for cleaning up what you've just done in it. Anyway, so we have standard toilets are about 15 inches off the ground at the seat. Right height or comfort height toilets are about 2.5 inches higher at about 17.5 or 18 inches off the ground. And sometimes that makes the difference that people really need. There's toilet seat risers. We like the toilet seat risers that actually screw down into the toilets, So it makes it a lot more safe instead of sliding off of the toilet. There's toilet vaders. There's ways of putting something underneath the toilet to get exactly the height you need. What else am I missing here about toilets? We can actually create a platform underneath the toilet so we can make exactly what we need for the height of the toilet based on a platform underneath. Or if you need it lower, we can actually do a wall hung toilet to make it even lower than that 15 inches. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do when we find out exactly what the individual again needs to be able to toilet. So here's a toilet seat riser. You can see how, I'm sorry, go ahead, Liz.
I was gonna say the commodes just end up in the garage.
They just end up in the garage. No one uses them, right? So here's a toilet seat riser that you can see where we screwed it in at the back, right where the toilet seat screws in, and that makes it a lot safer.
So we found this piece of equipment, this one on the left in particular. It's a toilet seat lift, it's called, and it's really cool. Unfortunately, it's kind of pricey, but it's for people who really have a lot of challenge standing up from the toilet. Sometimes just raising a toilet up isn't enough for them. They just don't have the strength in their arms and their legs or their legs, I should say, to stand up. So what this does is with a press of a button, it raises them up off the toilet into a almost standing position. It's sort of like a recliner lift chair raises a person up. This does the same thing. And what's really nice about the one on the left is that it fits right over the toilet. So it actually doesn't even bolt down into the toilet. And it also can be used bedside because you could get a bucket with it. So we happen to have been working with a couple women who had MS, and it was interesting because their spouse would put them assist them into their wheelchair every morning. And they actually would be independent all day in their wheelchair. The spouse would go to work and they would be independent all day, except the only problem was transferring on and off the toilet. And this product really helps with that because it really makes it a lot easier.
So Karen, you used the word really cool when you referred to that. Other families, cool is like jet ski or something like that. And in our family, cool is a toilet that lifts you up. I just realized that we're sort of odd family like that. Anyway.
And you're just realizing that now.
Yeah, we're a little bit odd.
30 years.
Are you able to clean yourself while using that? That's a really good question. That depends on the individual, how they clean themselves. And we're actually going to get to that question pretty quickly. Right, Liz?
Yeah.
So this is the.
I think he meant, is there enough like room to clean yourself while sitting on the?
Yeah, well, again, as far as the room is concerned, you still have the same problem that's on a commode. The hole is smaller. But I think they also make an open front toilet seat that you can put on that one as well. It's more of a commercial thing to have open front toilet seats, but that does work. But it is a bigger hole than a traditional commode has. But yeah, that one does have an open front.
Yeah,
there.
This one's pretty large. This one's not as small as a regular commode.
Yeah, and something Karen doesn't realize is heavy as heck. And I'm the one who's got to throw it in my truck and bring it to someone's house. It's really stable and heavy. So this person, actually what we did is we elevated the toilet seat. He needed the toilet higher. So we actually made this exactly how he needed it. And if he had a handyman come in, he would have had a grab bar right here, but he had no use of his right hand. So we were able to put this grab bar on that side, and it flipped up out of the way when someone had to help him with his personal care and to clean back in there. It just hinges up out of the way. I'm gonna get rid of all these lines. And this is the same thing called a PT rail that goes bilaterally. It's offset so that when someone stands up, it doesn't pinch their wrists. And this person actually used it. So when they took the shower, they took the shower curtain and flipped it over to this side and used it as a grab bar in the shower. So that worked out really nicely. Same thing, but for this one wasn't mounted to the wall. It was just mounted on a post, and she's very happy to have it.
He looks so happy.
So happy. Yes. Melissa.
It makes you happy, so you talk about it.
Oh, really? Okay. So
this is Greg's favorite.
This really is my favorite thing in the world.
So if you were at any of the virtual camps and went to any of the OT sessions, You saw me show the one at our house.
Oh, you did? You showed him a video or something? Okay.
No, I held up the camera.
Oh, so Melissa was very depressed when she went to college. She got into the dorms and she's like, wait a second, hold on. There's no bidets in the dorms. This is wrong. So they didn't put them in there at Quinnipiac. Anyway, this will wash you in front. It will wash you in back. It will dry you. It's got a heated seat. It's got heated water. It's got a nightlight. It's got a clock. It makes you breakfast. It's just the most wonderful thing. That why in the US do we use dry toilet paper to clean ourselves and we use wet rags to clean our cars? I don't know. But the fact is that this is something that whether someone has decreased dexterity, decreased range of motion, decreased cognition, they're missing a limb. Actually, the first person that we used this on was someone who's a quadrilateral amputee. They were missing 2 arms and 2 legs. So they were able to modify many things in their life, but they weren't able to wipe themselves. So this made it possible for them to be independent in wiping themselves. So it could be from the quadrilateral amputee all the way to the elderly lady who is getting many urinary tract infections because she's not washing herself well enough, or just any regular person who wants to be able to keep themselves clean every time they go to the bathroom. So I get very excited about this product.
I think that's the shortest amount of time you ever spent
Well,
on.
I'm trying. You usually talk to me, I say too much about it. So I'm trying.
Actually, did you mention the first client that you had?
Karen, you don't pay attention to what I say.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so let's move on to bathrooms. So again, a lot of people who have children with special needs or children with other disabilities sometimes wait too long to have the modifications done, as we said. So in this circumstance, this mom already went for, I forget whether it was shoulder surgery or cervical spine surgery, but there was some surgery. She had an 18-year-old with muscular dystrophy, if I remember correctly. And she had a tub and she was transferring by holding the child at 18 years old in and out of a tub. So what they did was we went in and made a no threshold shower. We try to limit the transfers. So if you have less transfers, there's going to be less strain of the caregiver, less effort that the person who with the disability has, and it's just safer and an easier way to live. So we try to make a no threshold shower, or sometimes it's called ADA shower or barrier free shower, but you get the point. You don't have any threshold to get in and out. We tend to use small tiles on the shower floor. The small tiles, usually like 2x2 tiles, they have a lot of grout. And because of the grout, it's less slippery. Also, all tiles have something called the coefficient of friction. It's a number that is associated with every tile, and it tells you how slippery the tile is. So if you're getting a tiled bathroom floor, it's really important that you look at that and you make it not slippery. Obviously, avoid different tiles like marble so that you don't have that slipperiness. This boy didn't stand up, and so in the shower we didn't put grab bars, but normally we would have put grab bars. We made a sink that the person could use a shower chair. There was one transfer. The transfer was from the bed to the shower chair in the morning. And then the mom could bring the shower chair into the shower, then can roll right under the sink and roll over the toilet. So it was really one transfer onto the shower chair, which made it a lot easier. So this is another bathroom that we did with, again, 2x2 textured tiles on the floor. We put grab bars in this one, handheld shower head, and a wall hung sink. Obviously, with the wall hung sinks, you want to make sure people who are in wheelchairs, sometimes they have sensory issues. So you want to make sure that the piping below is padded out. You don't want them to burn themselves and not even realize that they're burning if they have sensory issues. And also you don't want them banging their legs into it, but this is a way they could use their sink and they could use their shower easily. So there's another product that we started using, and it's called a Best Bath unit. Greg spoke to about it before with the shower curtain. But what it is yeah.
That's going back to the sink. I remember you talked about moving, especially for people with upper extremity where they can't reach the back of the sink, moving the knobs or something towards
Yeah.
the front.
Right.
Right.
But at one point,
Yeah.
so moving it. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. Well, what she's saying is if someone doesn't have a reach, we could do a countertop, and in that countertop, we could do a undermount sink, and then we can move the valve around so they could turn the sink on right close to them instead of having to reach over and around to the bath. Absolutely.
We did that with Eileen, someone we know with MS, and we had her faucets in the front.
Kitchen sink and the bathroom sink.
Yeah. So this product that I'm talking about is called a Best Bath system. It looks like regular tile, but it's not tile. It's actually wood wrapped in a fiberglass with a gel coat on top. And what's awesome about it is it comes in with 3 walls and the floor. The floor is textured, so it's not slippery. Because it's not real tile, there's no grout, so you're not sitting there it's taking the time out to grout a whole wall of tile, or actually 3 walls of tile and a floor. It goes in a lot quicker, and it's just a lot easier to install, and it's also something that can blend in with the rest of the bathroom very easily. And what I really like about it is that you're allowed to, just like this one's gray, you're allowed to actually color code a row of tiles, any color you basically want. So some people don't have the budget or want to take the time out to do a whole bathroom renovation, and you don't have to. And sometimes people have old tile in their bathroom that they can't replace, and they can't go and tile their shower now with that same tile. So this is a really great way that you could coordinate the rest of your bathroom with the tile that's already existing in your bathroom, if you choose to do that. And this is just an example of taking out a tub and then putting it in a Best Bath unit.
Does the size fit in a standard tub shower combo? Yeah. So a standard tub is about 60 inches wide and 30 to 32 left to right. It's about 60, and it's about 30 to 32 inches deep. However, they're made in about 40 different sizes that we can order, and we can even order it custom size. So yeah, just about any shower can be fit with a Best Bath system. Here we go with Karen's ability about my lack of ability to take pictures. Tell them.
Now, this was probably one of the most beautiful bathrooms that we had done, but when Greg took the picture, he didn't think about moving the brown towel that's in the walk-in, but that's okay.
So this shows a walk-in bathtub, and if you watch TV, the answer to every senior citizen and every disabled person in the world is to put a walk-in bathtub. I disagree. We disagree. Very often I'll go into a house and just spend a ton of money being suckered into a walk-in bathtub. And the fact is, it still requires you to walk into it. It still requires you to shut that door and wait for the water to fill up around you. And then once that water gets dirty and cold, you've got to wait for the water to run out before you can get out of it. So it's not always the best solution for a shower. This person really wanted it to be able to soak in the tub, but we also were able to have the luxury of having enough size to put a standard shower in there for showering purposes, and the walk-in tub for the relaxation aspect of it. Is that draining the floor to keep the water flowing into the rest of the bathroom? Sort of. So Karen, if you go back, so you'll see the shower drain. Let me get into annotation, annotate and draw. So this is the shower drain here. And from this location, all the floor is pitched down to that drain, so the water is able to get to it. Now, this was an apartment building, and they made us go ahead and put this drain here because they were worried someone was going to open this door and all the water was going to flow out and would have to be to this drain. So they made us put that drain there. The fact is, anyone who knows about plumbing, that gravity has to bring water to a drain. So this drain won't do any good unless this whole floor is pitched to this drain. The water won't actually find the drain. So it's something that you really have to know what you're doing in order to make that drain work.
You're a real artist, Greg.
I'm amazed. I amaze myself. Let's see if I can get this done. I wish there was a button. There probably is a button that makes it all disappear.
Probably is.
Yeah.
So this is just another example of wall hung sink, grab bar, ADA height toilet. So this is called a shower bay, which is a portable shower unit. So some people rent their home, so doing a bathroom renovation really isn't an option. Or sometimes people have orthopedic issues, which the person's going to get better. So maybe they don't need to worry about doing a whole bathroom renovation. So this is a really great piece of equipment. It comes with two 35-foot hoses that attach to a regular sink. One hose brings the water to that shower head in the unit. Can you put the circle on the shower head, Greg? And then there's a pump at the bottom of the unit, and the pump pumps the water back into the sink. So it works really well as a portable shower. The only downfall is that it only fits an upright shower chair. So if someone needs a tilt and space shower chair, they have to lean back and they can't support themselves sitting upright. The unit is not large enough to hold that. There's another company called Faucet that makes units that are longer that you could use a tilt and space shower chair for. But this really works out well for someone who can sit upright.
Karen, can you back up to the shower for a second, please? One more. Okay, so there's something I'd like to talk about here. Let me get rid of all my garbage here. So if any of you are building a roll-in or a walk-in or a wet room or however you want to call it, shower, you can reach out to us and let us know. We'd be happy to tell you the different products that are out there so you're not reinventing the wheel. Because a standard carpenter, general contractor, or plumber is going to create what's called a mud floor where they're going to have to come up in order to come down to it. And they're going to create an area that you got to go up in order to come back down into the shower. But there's a lot of products that we use that allow you to not have to do that anymore and actually have the water get to the drain where you want to. We have prefabricated floors that get tiled on top of that actually sit below the tiled floor. So you can actually pitch down. There's a real science to creating a waterproof wet room so that you don't have water end up in your kitchen below. And we'd be happy to help out anyone with which products need to be done. Need to be used.
And then also back to the best bath, if you ever know someone or if you're interested in having a best bath, your contractor, wherever they are, there's dealers of best baths throughout the country. So they can, Best Bath can put you in touch with a dealer in your area, and your contractor could actually purchase the best bath from that dealer. Melissa.
Another thing that everybody heard me talk about if you were at Camp No Limits virtual camps. Sorry. So basically this goes onto the wall in the shower because everyone has 2 million bottles of shampoo and conditioner and soap and whatever else all in your shower. And you turn around and you knock them over and they're all over the floor. So when I actually moved into my apartment in Boston, I have a very small, narrow shower that doesn't have a lot of room on the sides to hold my stuff. So I actually have one of these in my shower. But yeah. So
There's a lot less bottles in our shower now that you're at. But we do miss you.
And then you also just could use one hand. So if you're an upper extremity amputee, you don't have to worry about flipping the bottle upside down and trying to squeeze it or anything like that, like against the wall. If you don't have two hands to manipulate a bottle with, you could just pull the lever. I know some people, a lot of the kids also talked about how they had similar, I don't want to call them machines, like technology, similar things.
Devices.
Or devices, thank you, for toothbrushes to put on toothpaste, and even some like automatic ones.
So this is actually, we try to see if we can allow someone to utilize their whole house. They end up with a traumatic injury. The therapist says, why don't you go live in your living room and not go up to the bedroom and not use the showers, and we'll sponge bathe. And we very often will come up with a solution to be able to use your whole house. This person was not able to. So we were able to build this little bathroom in their dining room, and it worked out really well.
So this is called a Tub Buddy. It's another piece of equipment. Again, if someone is renting and they don't have, they're not going to do a whole bathroom modification, or if they don't want to spend as much that would cost a bit for a bathroom modification, this piece of adaptive equipment that you could use on a tub is, or also for a stall shower.
If you can turn the volume down, Karen. So basically, usually you do the transfer bedside. You wheel into the bathroom. It tilts in space for the tub so that you can clear your feet over it. And what happens is the wheeled part is able to be disengaged, so the shower curtain can close. And again, this is a good solution, as Karen said, for someone who's not going to want to go through the construction of removing the tub. So it's basically second best, but at least it gives the option of getting into the tub area for the caregiver, especially for the caregiver. So this person actually, she does not take a shower. She gets sponge bathed. Her aide stands by the sink over here. You can see she doesn't even use toilet paper. And she doesn't have a grasp. So she basically needs to be able to loop her elbow through this in order to hold herself up, because she doesn't have the ability to grasp a grab bar, while her aide cleans her using a sponge bath. So again, another unique way of getting it taken care of. We actually had the same issue with someone, a little girl with CP, cerebral palsy. She wasn't able to, she was in school. She had one aide with her. The aide would bring her into the bathroom and stand her up, and then was not able to pull her pants down while holding her up. So she required two people in the stall to be able to get her to be able to use the toilet, because she didn't have the grasp to hold on while the aide was manipulating her pants. So we were able to do the same thing in the stall, where we were able to get this, and she was able to hold herself up, which one, made it possible for her to be in school. Two, it made the school able to only have one caregiver for her during the day. So it worked out pretty well.
So this is called a super pull or a security pull with a curved grab bar. This particular one is by a company called Stander, Stander. It comes in white as well. I like it in white better. And it's great because sometimes you need a grab bar, but you need a grab bar where there's no wall. So this goes from floor to ceiling. There's actually a flat piece that goes onto the ceiling. It actually gets screwed on through tension and is pretty secure with the tension, but we usually pop some screws up in the ceiling and down just to secure it even better. But what it does is there's a knob. Greg, can you point out the knob? There's a knob on it, and you pull out that knob, and then you could swivel the grab bar. So the grab bar swivels and then locks into place wherever you need it. And then it gives you something secure to stand up from. So as therapists, we used to tell people when they were being discharged from a hospital, when they go home, make sure they sit in a chair that's high and has two armrests. And then we used to do home care and go into the homes, and people really want to sit in their most comfortable chair or their couch a lot of times. A lot of times they're really low. So this type of device helps with that. It also helps with transfers in and out of the bed. So doing your sit to stand transfers out of the bed, and also in bathrooms as well.
Kara, we had a question about how do you prevent the room from getting wet with the portable shower? That's a great question. Basically, that shower bay provides a pump that pumps, but all the water is all drained to the pump. And then there's a hose that can go up to 35 feet away where it's pumped out. So it self-drains itself, where there are other units that actually only have a flat floor. That's like a tarp, and that tarp isn't really pitched to that pump. So therefore you have to sort of get in there and pick the floor up. I like how I move like that. Anyway, so you have to move the floor up and down in order to get the water to the pump, and it does result in a wet floor. So that shower bay really has mastered that. What you're really not going to prevent is from that wet wheelchair. When you roll out of there, it will drip some water on the floor.
So this is showing the security pole, you know, next to the bed, next in the bathroom. Again, it's just a great place when you don't have a wall for a grab bar and you need something solid to hold on to. So again, these pieces of equipment are from the same company, Standard. As I said before, a lot of the manufacturers are really making a lot of products for accessibility and safety. I think this one on the left is called a couch cane with a tray, and it just is a great way to have something to push up on. And I forget the one on the right.
Get up and go.
What's it?
Get up and go.
Get up and go. That's what it's called. So that's another option.
So different, another, we've talked about all these adaptations, stair lifts and grab bars and ramps. Sometimes you just need another rail. And so on this house, we were able, the rail on the left is the one that we made, where the one on the right was existing already. So, but what we do a little bit differently than other people, we like to pass the bottom step here with a flat end of the rail and pass the top of the step as well. So you're not grabbing it at the edge and you're not ditching it at the edge. And we also turn into the wall here so that we're not, boy, that was a really lousy one I just drew. Anyway, so we turn into the wall so that you end up not snagging your backpack or your belt or your arm or whatever oxygen lines on the edge of the rail.
So this is called a flexibed. So we get a lot of people, whether they're younger or older. Actually, we had a child with CP recently that had one. He was so cute. He called up, well, his father called up and he got in on the conversation and he's like, I need an adjustable bed, but it needs to fit a 70-pound dog, because he had to make sure that his dog could sleep in the bed with him. But a lot of people need beds that have the features of a hospital bed, meaning that the bed will go raise up and down vertically, as well as the head of the bed raising up and down and the legs raising up and down. And we've been selling these flexibeds for probably about 10 years already. They're great because they're really comfortable, and they also come in multiple sizes. So they come in twin, full, queen. The king is two twins next to each other. But hospital beds are very uncomfortable. And if you do have a spouse and you want to sleep in the same bed as them, obviously you can't fit into a hospital bed. So this really gives an option for people, no matter what age, to have a bed that's really comfortable, that does not look like a hospital bed, but has all those features that you need in a hospital bed. So obviously, as you therapists know, it's easier to stand up and get out of bed off a higher surface. So we just raise the bed when they're going to do their sit to stand transfer. And it's easier for bed mobility to be able to also to be able to raise the head of the bed. So we could do that. Also, this manufacturer makes a side rail. If you can see on the right, there's a side rail that can be attached to this bed. A lot of adjustable beds, if you put a standard bed rail on there, you would actually break the bed, because the bed would be moving, but the rail wouldn't. So this manufacturer does make side rails that we could put on the bed as well, which can also help with all the bed mobility and transfers. Hey, whose room is this?
That is my room before we repainted it. Neutral color, then bright pink.
Raspberry.
Very.
Let's talk about it, Liz.
You could do it.
All right, so bed rails. There are these bed rails that you can get from Amazon or whatever. Again, this company's name is Standard. The ones that we look for, and they're just fair. They're not excellent. They're just fair. And sometimes they do satisfy people's needs. The problem is when you take your weight off the mattress, very often they become a little bit unstable. They're not going to fall off because they are attached. They do have a strap that goes all the way across and wrap around on the other side of the bed. But we like to go with the ones that actually have a leg that goes down and bears weight through the floor instead of the ones that just go underneath the mattress and don't go all over the floor. So when you're pushing down on it, it does stay a little bit stronger than most. This one is called a
Stable rail.
stable rail. Yes.
Yeah, this is also from that company called
Stander.
Stander.
Right.
And we talked about those security poles before, the ones that go from floor to ceiling. Stander just came out with a signature line, I think it's called, and it makes a waterproof one specially made for the bathrooms, and it's a little nicer looking, so that's an option as well.
So, but here's one that actually extends. So if people are having trouble falling out of bed, you can actually, it's called an adjuster rail. That's right.
Easy adjust
rail, where it actually can pull out or pull back in for the transfer. But note that it doesn't go all the way to the ground. So when you do lean on it as you stand up, it's a little bit shaky.
You look so comfortable there, Greg.
I was in Melissa's bed. Okay, I gotta get
So,
rid of it. Sorry.
alarm system. So this isn't for what most of the
Just
people
give
on
it
this
a-
call
just-
are for. It's just there's an alarm company for you therapists out there called Smart Caregivers, and it's really a great option for people. It's more for people with dementia that there's a bed sensor and a chair sensor, and there's also a door exit alarm, and there's also a motion detector or motion sensor, and they all connect with it looks like what does it, it's like a little box that the caregiver carries around. So when the
Receiver.
alarm goes off, it doesn't scare the patient. It goes off with the caregiver, and it's just a way for the caregiver to know if their loved one or the person they're caring for has moved and is at risk of falling.
So, very often we'll bring some adapted furniture in that is already made for someone with a disability. This person did not want to give up her furniture, but she wasn't able to get out of her chair because they were too low. So we were just able to flip her chairs over and put these legs on there to make it exactly what she needed. And we went to Burger King and we got a crown and we put it on her, and she sat on her thrones very, very happily.
Lissy?
So this is a seat lift chair. They come in a bunch of different styles. Some have 2 motors, so that way you can move the back up and down and the legs up and down separately. Otherwise, it kind of brings the legs out at the same time that it brings the back. And it brings you all the way up into standing. Now, this is really good for people such as like Parkinson's patients that have trouble initiating the movement. So by having the chair kind of initiate the movement, they're more likely to be able to continue that motion because the initiation is taken care of. As well as PTs used to always say that these were really bad because you want someone to work on strengthening their legs by getting out of the chair, and you don't want to weaken any muscles that they already have. You want them to keep using them. However, throughout the business, they kind of figured out that a lot of times the wives or the husbands that are kind of difficult themselves at mobilizing, we're kind of pulling them out of the chair, and that's just dangerous for everyone. So even though it's not the best practice in the state that they're not using all their muscles, it is a lot more functional and what people most likely will use and lessens the way of getting hurt.
Great. Yeah. And it's one place in the house where someone can be more independent. It doesn't mean that they still won't be able to, strengthen their muscles getting out of bed or getting off and on the kitchen chair or their wheelchair. But it really is one place where people can be more comfortable about going from sitting to standing. And it's usually a pretty comfortable chair to begin with. But again,
Thank
So-
God we have them in our office, because what happens is
You
Karen
fell
wants to-
asleep in one the other
Yeah,
day.
Karen likes to work late when we're supposed to go out for dinner. She's got like 5 more things to do. So I sit in the chairs in the showroom and I fall asleep. They're perfect.
And you snore.
I do not snore. That's
You
not true.
snore. I can't do my work.
I do not.
Yeah, but also a lot of DME stores sell these. So wherever you are, if you have a patient that might you want to think about getting one of these, a lot of times at the DME stores, the durable medical equipment providers, they have ones that you could demo or you could just try out. And some companies actually rent these as well. So if you have an orthopedic situation or some other temporary situation, sometimes you could rent them, but most often it just makes sense to buy them. It's really great. Actually, we've had a number of friends recently that use them. My mother-in-law fractured her shoulder recently, and Greg brought one over for her, and it was a lifesaver for her. We have another friend that had a double bilateral knee replacement, and we loaned one to her, and she said it was magnificent. And also we had another friend who had a mastectomy, and she used it as well. So it's not even just for people with Parkinson's or MS. It's for a lot of people, even with certain surgeries. It's really a nice, easy. It makes it a lot easier to deal with your surgery if you have these.
So ceiling lifts, a lot of people who are dependent at transferring, they don't have their caregivers, can't get them out. They end up with a Hoyer lift. A Hoyer lift might work really well in a hospital where they've got a lot of staff and they've got flat floors, there's no carpeting. But in a home, a ceiling lift really is a preferred way of getting someone with a single caregiver to get someone in and out of bed, into a chair. We even have ambulation slings where you can actually be securely in your sling and practice ambulating back and forth without falling.
There are a couple different manufacturers out there of ceiling lifts. We use one called Severia right now, and we find it a pretty reliable lift. And you could use it. A lot of people tend to just use it for the bed to wheelchair transfers, and then just wheel the person wherever they need to go. Here's another one. This one went through the header of the door so that they could bring her wherever they want in the house where the track is. But most often that's not necessary. But again, this is another item that if any of you work with special needs children who are dependent, again, this is another item, just like the no threshold showers, that the parents should really consider getting prior to the child getting too heavy for them.
Go ahead, Karen. So lighting is another thing that we want to look at sometimes, whether it be motion sensor lighting or leaving a light on in the bathroom, leaving night lights. Very often someone will have a hamper full of clothes they'll put down. Someone doesn't put the light on, they trip over it. Lighting is something really important, especially in older homes, to really look at to make sure that you don't have to cross a room in order to be able to turn the light on with a lamp. So just get an electrician in there and make the lighting as good as possible.
So people usually tend to ask about funding sources. So in our practice, we don't work as often with the pediatric population. So we're not as familiar with different pediatric funding. In New Jersey, they do have what's called a catastrophic fund that some of the children here utilize. And there's also a brain injury fund here. A lot of these are state specific, so I won't be that familiar with the ones in your certain state. For those people who do work with the geriatric population or adult population, if someone has long-term care insurance, a lot of times, a lot of those older policies have riders for home modifications. I just talked to 2 people this week who have long-term care insurance, and those policies are going to pay for a custom curve stair lift for each of them. So they are great policies if people have it. It's just not that many people have long-term care insurance. We talked before about the Veterans Administration, and again, and I believe in most states the VA is really good with their veterans. Here in New Jersey, I know that the veterans have to be in the system, or it takes a really long time for someone to get services. So even if you, wherever you are, if you know any veteran, even if they're as healthy as can be, have them go to their local VA and have them get into their system, so that, God forbid, they get into a situation where they need some type of home modification, they should be able to get the services sooner than later. It doesn't mean they can't go to the regular doctor as well, just make sure they get in the system. Medicaid, again, is state specific. Here in New Jersey, there's the MLTSS division, which deals with home modifications for their Medicare members. And there's also DDD here in New Jersey. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know out in other states. Maybe you guys can share with us what you know about in your state, any other funding sources. If Again, in New Jersey with auto insurance, there's a cap on our auto insurance here. And because there's a cap, we usually like to get any home modifications covered by the auto insurance and captured by the auto insurance, because any major medical bills, they're going to go on to their regular major medical insurance program, whereas home modifications are not a benefit of Medicare. They're not a benefit of a Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield or any other regular insurance. So if a family can get some coverage under their auto insurance, if it was an auto injury, it's much better to get that covered and have those medical bills go onto their major medical afterwards. Same thing with workers' comp, except there's not usually a cap with workers' comp, but if there's a work-related injury, try to get that insurance company, the case manager, on board. They usually make you really jump through hoops to get things approved and authorized. Also, for anybody who is doing home modifications, just so you know, with the workers' comp, usually the person who approves the job is not the person who pays for the job. So you really have to make sure you have all your paperwork together and make sure that not only was it approved by the case manager, but it will actually be paid for by the insurance company. The MS Society here in New Jersey sometimes helps with some funding, and some people actually go with the GoFundMe page. That can help a lot as well. But if anybody knows any other sources for funding, I'd love to learn more if anybody does. Greg, I can't see my chat for some reason, so if you could check it.
Empty.
Okay. So just on a last note, and you guys probably know about this couple, but at the 2016 AOTA conference, Jessica Kensky and Patrick Downs were the keynote speakers. They were amazing. They spoke, they were in the Boston Marathon bombing, and they spoke. She's a double amputee, and he has one amputation on his leg, and they were just incredible to listen to. And you could listen to them on YouTube if you search AOTA 2016 annual conference keynote, and it's Jessica Kensky and Patrick Downs. And you need a box of tissues and about 20 minutes, and it's really was a great presentation. So if anybody has any questions about anything we've spoken about, please feel free to reach out. This is our contact information. We also we have, as I said, our New Jersey based companies back home safely here in New Jersey. And And we also franchised our company. So we have a franchise called Greenlight Mobility, and we're looking for other therapists in other states who are interested in home modifications to learn to do what we're doing here in New Jersey. And it's been really fun. And we haven't had to write a therapy note in 14 years. So that part's really great. And we've really enjoyed it. And we really help change people's lives as well. So if there aren't any last minute questions, Greg, can you see anything?
I'm looking.
Okay. So thank you so much for having us come here, Mary. We're really happy we were able to share this information with you and your people.
Thank you so much. I think everyone really enjoyed it. I don't know if there's any other questions.
There's a couple. Oh, great. Okay. And if there's, as I said, if anybody has any questions in the future, or if you have any patients that need any assistance, we're always happy to talk to people about it. And we could even do a virtual assessment of a home and, give some recommendations. We have no problem doing that.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See you at main camp.